Welcome to another episode of Autograph Weekly. This week, I'm joined by my co-host, Sir Nick Justice. We're going to be diving into some interesting topics, including Galaxycon Austin. We're going to be covering the guests, including the celebrities, voice actors, and comic creators, as well as how the new Texas drag ban law might affect Galaxycon and other conventions like it. We'll also be covering the Michael Keaton signing, as well as the Celebrity Authentic signing with Michelle Pfeiffer. We'll be covering the autograph video game grading service, WATAGraphs, and some very interesting topics along the way. So join us for another lively discussion.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Nick of Sir Nick Justice. I make cosplay, props, and anything in between for the fandom. And I'm also an autograph collector and often go to conventions.
Awesome. Are you going to be attending Galaxycon in Austin?
I'm looking to potentially Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, cool. Is there anyone in particular that you're looking to? I got the guest list up right here. I know I'm going there. Going to hopefully meet Mike Tyson and Kristen Ritter. Those are kind of the top of my list. How about you?
I'm definitely looking for Andy Serkis as a Lord of the Rings fan. You know, I was definitely a big fan of Gollum, and then of course his rendition of Planet of the Apes was pretty huge in that revamp era. And then of course to see him today in I believe it was Andor.
Yeah. He's in like all the franchises: Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Like if there's a franchise with a big fan base, this guy's in it. So he's definitely a good guest to have. I've done some fan mail to him, and I've gotten some autographs through the mail, but I've never had the opportunity to meet him in person. So it's kind of going to be a little bit of a difficult thing to decide what I'm going to get him on if I do get him. I think, Snoke, I don't think so. Like that's an immediate no.
We don't talk about that.
I mean, I guess it'd probably be a Lord of the Rings shot, I think, is what I would have to go to, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Mike Tyson, boxing legend. I don't know if he's ever really done a con before. I know he's done like a bunch of signings, but I'm not sure
like sporting event shows.
That's not a common one. So I'm looking forward to meeting him. I did buy that print that I showed you earlier. It's like a Mike Tyson's Punch Out NES print. It looks kind of like glitched up and cool, but there's a nice sweet spot right in the middle where he can sign a big signature. And I don't think anyone else is going to have one signed by Mike Tyson. I've seen a lot of like stills from Mike Tyson's Punch Out signed by him. Those are like pretty common. It could probably be got for about $120, something like that. I have one of those myself already, but I think this print's going to look pretty nice with his signature on it. But there's definitely some good shots that people could get. I think that iconic pose with like him standing over the other boxer in the ring, that would be like just such a beautiful shot to get signed by him. So I could totally see someone going for something like that. I think for Kristen Ritter, she was on the show Love and Death that we were out there scoping out, and I got to be a background extra on. So I'm going to get her to sign one of the props that I lifted from the set. So that's kind of the item that I'm going to have her sign. But the guest list is pretty deep. And, got William Shatner. He's a pretty common guest, but definitely a big name. People love meeting him. Richard Dreyfuss, he's on there too. I thought that was like a pretty cool addition to the guest list, kind of a late addition that I wasn't expecting. You a Richard Dreyfuss fan, Nick?
Yeah, he's definitely old school actor. So it's nice to see him in this fresh mix to bring it old school again.
Yeah, like he's not like someone who I would have like expected to be on the guest list, because like you said, he's kind of like old school. He's not like one of these hot like up and coming actors that people are really like out there asking for. But then once you see him on the guest list, you're like, oh yes, like I totally want to meet that guy. I'm definitely really like him in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was like incredible film. Jaws of course is a classic too, but I think if I were to get him something, it would be on Close Encounters. Something I was looking for a poster, didn't really find something vintagey that was like good, but so I'm still looking for him. Maybe I can get something before the con starts. We'll see. And then the guest list for this con like initially was kind of lackluster. They initially kind of announced a bunch of voice actors for it, not too many traditional celebrity guests. So we do have a pretty deep roster of voice actors here as well. But now that that's kind of been supplemented with some of these bigger names like it's a lot more exciting than it was initially when we just had the voice actors. But
I mean, it's honestly, it's a huge lineup. Like the amount of voice actors alone is almost as equal to the regular actors that they're bringing in.
Yeah, they do. It's like a super deep roster that they have, like unusually deep. Like usually when you go to a convention, you probably have about half of the people that are on this when you take into account all the voice actors, all the screen actors, and then plus they have a really, really deep roster of comic artists who they're becoming like unicorns. Like, these things used to be comic conventions and they would revolve around the comic book and the comic artist, and those would be the main guests. Like people go just to see the comic artists. But now, like, they've become morphed into more of like a pop culture convention where the actors and the celebrities have more taken the center stage and they're the big draw. So more and more at conventions, you see that these comic artists, the artist alley is just shrinking every.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with that. And
Yeah.
and those same, no offense, of course, to the vendors, but they're all starting to be the same, just about at all these conventions. It seems like originality is dwindling.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many like custom dice shops I see at like every convention, or all kinds of like art prints that we see everywhere, which is like, and a lot of times it's like not even like the actual artist there. Like they'll be selling someone else's art there.
Yeah, yeah, it gets weird like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm all for artists being there and selling their own work, but it's like, even that we're seeing less and less. So yeah, the voice actors are really cool. You got a mix of like video game and anime voice actors there. Patricia Summerset, who plays Princess Zelda, of course. You got some of the Sonic the Hedgehog people here.
I mean, and the crazy thing is that some of these voice actors are just so relevant to today's remakes or shows that came out. Like, for instance, Ashley Eckstein with Ahsoka, just releasing. You had Jodie with the Mermaid. It's insane how they were able to bring them on to a show with so many guests.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the old Clone Wars shows are now like super fresh in people's minds. Everybody's thinking of them, and like probably tons of people just finished rewatching them in preparation for Ahsoka. So yeah, this stuff is like totally fresh on their mind, and it's happening next week, so it's a perfect time. I imagine people like Ashley Eckstein, I mean, she normally has a very big crowd anyway, but like I think her line is going to be very deep, given the release of this new show for sure. And like, I mean, I keep on scrolling down the screen, and there's just more and more people. And then you get to like the featured creators one, and you got all these like comic artists there. And like I use an app to like track all of my comic collection. So I'll like type in every single artist who's going to be there into this app, and then it'll show me which comic books I have that they've contributed to. And normally I'll just kind of like, I carry a backpack at the con, and I'll just put the comics in my backpack, which is probably not good for them. So this year I just spent like, I don't know, $15 on this nice
case. You got
to,
that nice.
To put them all in there, and it's going to keep everything super secure and nice. It's not going to mess up my comic books, and you can just open it up and then pull them out really easily. So I've actually got like 2 of these that are full of comic books. There's just that many artists there that I have comic books for just already existing in my collection. I didn't have to like go out and buy anything because their roster is just basically that deep on this convention. So it's pretty cool. But other than the guest list, this convention to me, I think is kind of unique. I mean, all of them are definitely like, there's definitely elements for kids in there, but like it's definitely for, adult fans. But this one is like kind of leaning more into the adult entertainment, I'd say.
Yeah.
So they have like this whole special like after dark thing where I think the convention ends at like 8 o'clock. And then there's this like special ticketed event which goes to like, I think like 2 a.m. or something crazy. Like it's this after dark thing where it's like mainly geared towards adults. They got like a burlesque show. They have like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. They call it a shadow cast, which is like, where they play the movie, but then you have live actors on stage in front of the screen, kind of acting out the stuff in real time along with the movie. Have you ever been to like a shadow cast of Rocky Horror Picture before, Nick?
Honestly, I haven't.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty good. Now I went to one at the Alamo Draft House. This was some years ago, but it was a pretty fun time. They have like props and stuff. The audience gets really interactive and engaged, and it's a pretty good time. But this one, I don't know how much I paid for that one, but it wasn't nearly as much as this. Because this one I think is like $100 per ticket on this thing, so it's not like a cheap event to go to. But it's really interesting the timing of this because. I don't know. Have you heard any of the news about the SB 12? I believe it is Senate Bill 12 that just passed, which is the kind of colloquially known as the drag ban. Have you heard about that passing in Texas?
It's supposed to go into effect the 1st of September, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it goes into effect the 1st of September, which is of course the day of the convention. And I'm not entirely sure like how much GalaxyCon is actually tracking this and the potential impact that it could have. But essentially, while it's called the drag ban, drag isn't ever specifically called out in this bill, but basically it's well known that the authors of the bill were intending to target drag shows, specifically ones that have been cited like where the drag queens read to children, that kind of thing. So they want to like prevent children from being exposed to drag performances essentially, but they do so in a way that's very vague, and it talks about having minors on the premises where like sexually suggestive performances can be, and then it also talks about like how anything that like augments someone's like sexual appearance. So it could be like the verbiage is so vague it could refer to like a push-up bra or anything like that.
Yeah.
It also talks about like touching the body parts and stuff, which could include like slapping your ass or something like that, like some pretty like mild stuff that could fall under this law, which could land actually the performers in jail and land the companies that host this stuff with a $10,000 fine. So a lot of the stuff that GalaxyCon potentially could be doing could run them afoul of the law. And I know you were just at the convention last month here in San Antonio, but I know I saw some cosplay there where there was basically cross-dressing guys dressed as females, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're big into the cosplay. Like, I mean, have you heard any like buzz about this law or any concerns about cosplayers or anything like that?
I'm honestly going to say that I don't think a lot of people are truly aware of the law going into effect and what it means for the individual who does, let's say, cross-play or cosplays. So I do think there's got to, I don't know if there's how they're going to even enforce it. If they're training regular cops, for instance, to look out and citate for these type of fines. But it is going to be interesting how they overall take a look at it, because there is conventions, even ones where they're based around swimming outfits, like swimsuit versions of your costumes. Let's say you do some sort of mix up that could be seen as drag, for instance. How does it affect you in that way at this type of specific event? You know what I mean? There's a lot of potential of issues, or perhaps not.
Yeah, so I didn't even know there was a term for it, but you say crossplay, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know that was a term for it. So that's a new term for me. But actually, so this the bill was authored by one of the senators here in Texas. So I went ahead and I looked him up and I called his office. And I was like, "Is this like what you guys are intending to pursue here?" Like, mentioned GalaxyCon and how they're having on the same day as the law goes in effect. He said, "Well, I know we mentioned drag shows and." I specifically mentioned Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he said that came up during their discussions when they were drafting the bill, but he didn't know exactly where that kind of fell. So he referred me to, I think, one of the staffers. He gave me an email. I reached out to them. This was yesterday. I haven't gotten a response back. So even like the authors of the bill, like
They don't even know.
they don't know what the hell's going on.
We
What their
need to add an
applications of this
exception
are.
for Rocky Horror specifically in this bill, because that seems to be what the go-to is going to be. Like, well, what about that show? It's as old as time.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty clear example. And like the Galaxycon event here, I reached out to them as well, and they said that it was all ages. So like, it's definitely gonna minors are gonna be there, or at least potentially could be there. Which, I mean, according to the letter of the law, given the fact that there is drag here and there are minors present, it is a violation of the law as it's written. So I mean, whether or not they're going to be pursued for that, I don't know. But I mean,
is there gonna is it an event that we could see protesting at, in advance? Is that enough awareness that will be already brought to this type of scenario, that's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how
be
much awareness there is.
head?
Like I've heard some interviews regarding the like a drag company who like runs drag shows and stuff on NPR, and they were talking about basically how they were because of the ambiguity of the law, they were scared to basically continue operations. They didn't want to go to jail or face a $10,000 fine. So I mean, I've heard some talk about it, but I mean, really, I think so far this bill has gone under the radar, and I think it'll probably take somebody actually getting fined or arrested first before it really kind of gets national attention. So we'll see exactly how that goes, I guess. But I mean, there's of course the After Dark, the drag show, and then I mean they also had stuff like they had like a hentai coloring event also there too. So like they're not shying away from adult themed activities there. Which
what's insane to me is that I feel like I'm of course using it in a generic term here, but lewd cons, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is so fresh as to being its own type of convention that I'm very surprised that they've already started to include it in theirs.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's no necessarily like anything that identifies this as like a lewd con, for example. Like it's definitely still seems like a pretty family friendly thing. There's all kinds of like voice actors. They've got tons of family friendly stuff, but then they have this like separate segmented thing that's specifically for adults, and they've got some content in there like the hentai coloring thing that's like also for adults too. So they're kind of blurring the lines there between the the traditional Comic-Con and then what you're talking about there. So it's interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how that interplay is, and I'll be doing some like live streams while I'm there for sure. So hopefully I'll get to take everybody behind the scenes to see exactly what's going on there.
So you're attending?
Yeah, so I'm going to be there all 3 days. I went ahead and I got a hotel room there. I went it through the website, so supposedly that comes with like a VIP pass, so that should make getting autographs pretty quick and easy. But yeah, I just figured it's down the street, looks pretty good. It's a holiday weekend. I already got the time off, so I figured I'd just enjoy all 3 days.
Nice. Hope you practice your coloring.
Yeah, we'll see if I make that one. I'm going to try and do a lot of the Q&A panels. I know Friday night I'm trying to like hang out with my wife down there. She's not really too interested in the con, so I'm going to miss the Richard Dreyfuss panel there, which is a bummer for me. Like I would like to see his panel, but other than that, I'm going to try and get most of the panels there with the big names. Definitely looking forward to, there's like a Clone Wars panel with I think there's at least 3 Clone Wars voice actors there. So I'm looking forward to that one. I want to see Kristen Ritter for sure. So we'll see who else we can get in there with, but I'll be doing kind of live streams of the panels and then walking around the convention floor as well. And then I haven't bought my ticket for the After Dark. It's like a separate ticketed event. I think that's like an additional $100 as well, but yeah, maybe we'll be able to do some live streaming there as well. So, well, that's anything else on Galaxycon before we move on there?
No, I think that pretty much covers the whole event. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I do have one more thing with one of the voice actor guests,
Sure.
Charles Martinet. I don't know if you heard
Yes.
the news about him, but he's the Mario voice actor.
Mario ambassador now.
So he's going to be at the convention. He's been the Mario voice actor for, I don't know, since the 90s for
Yeah.
sure. Early 90s. I think his first games were like on actually like Mario like PC games, I think. So he's been the voice of Mario forever. And then of course, we had kind of Chris Pratt infamously taken over the role, depending on who you ask. um, but the understanding was, Chris Pratt's doing this for the movie. But we're always going to have Charles in the video games. But that all kind of changed like 2 days ago when Nintendo
I know,
came
just a
out.
few months after.
Yeah. Nintendo came out and they announced that he's going to be like the Mario ambassador. So he's stepping away from the voice acting role, and he's going to be in some kind of like elder statesman type position, kind of promoting Nintendo. And this announcement comes just like a week before he's going to appear at
Yeah.
Galaxycon Austin. So this is going to be his first kind of public appearance after
As
this
Mario
new
ambassador, yeah.
as the Mario ambassador. So I guess we'll get a glimpse into seeing exactly what that is. And he does have a Q&A panel. So hopefully at that panel, we'll be able to see a little bit exactly what Mario ambassador is, what that all means.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the interviewers for these things, like the questions always suck. So it would not surprise me one bit if they didn't even ask about the Mario ambassador at all. Like it's such an obvious, like good question to ask. It would
Yeah.
not surprise me if they just totally blew past that and it said, "What is your favorite Mario game?" Some surface level question that whatever. So I don't know. That remains to be seen, I guess. All right. So now we're going to move on to talk a little bit about Salt Lake City Fan X, which is September 21st and 23rd. And basically, there's some good guests there, and we're located here in Texas, not anywhere near Salt Lake City. So I'm not going to be making the trek out there, but I did want to note that if you guys are familiar with Streamily, you can order autographs through them and they'll kind of get your stuff signed. So there are some pretty good guests there. You got Grant Gustin, who's the Flash, and then Alexandra Daddario, who's known from Baywatch, and then the Mayfair Witches and some other movies and TV shows like that. I really like her. I think I am going to order an autograph for her for sure, because I don't think she's ever done a convention before. So this is like the first one that she's ever done. I would really like to meet her in person, but I'm not going out to Salt Lake City, so there's that. Got Karen Gillan and Laura Cohen from Walking Dead, Katie Sackhoff, of course, Michael J. Fox. Some pretty good guests there. So
Yeah, they got some big headliners.
yeah, so they've got a really good lineup there too. Definitely not as deep as what we have at Galaxycon Austin, but they've got some good names. Nev Campbell, of course, and got Matthew Lillard also from Scream, so those are good as well. But yeah, I think I got a couple links. I think I got like an affiliate link, I think, for a couple of these guys. But I'll put a link to them in the show notes for sure. But Streamily is pretty good. Definitely recommend going there. So, all right, now moving on to next on the docket, which is WATAGraphs. I did want to touch on WATAGraphs a little bit. Have you ever heard of the grading company WATA before?
No, I haven't.
So it's basically you can think of WATA as kind of like CGC, but specifically for video games. So CGC does comic books and other kinds of magazines, that kind of stuff, but WATA does video games specifically. And they've made some pretty big news headlines for sealed Super Mario Brothers games, like going for $1 million+ at auction, that kind of stuff. So whenever you see those really big $1 million+ sales of a video game, it's basically guaranteed that it's been slabbed by WATA pretty much. So they do a grading on it, they grade the seal, and they do authenticity, if some of these games get resealed and repackaged, so they'll be able to tell if it's authentic, and they give you a grade and they put it in a nice slab. So that's kind of been their business for the last, I don't know, 5+ years at least, I'd say. But now they're kind of moving into the autograph space as well with this new offering called WATAGraphs. And basically, it's the same deal. You get a slabbed video game, but now it's like, with CGC, they have their slabbed comics, but they also have the CGC signature series. So they have that yellow label where it says like, yeah, this comic book was signed by the artist. It was witnessed by a CGC representative, and it gets the special label saying, yeah, this is 100% good autograph. So they basically did the same thing with this WATAgraph line of products, and they're just rolling it out. So now they're having people go to conventions like Galaxycon, for example, and they'll meet someone like Patricia Somerset, who's the voice actor for Zelda. They'll bring a stack of video games, have her sign them all, and they all go to WATA directly for pack slabbing and grading and stuff. So we might start seeing some of these signed video games, especially I think from voice actors. But I mean, it could be anyone. It could be somebody who, like, there's been athletes like a Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That'd be a great opportunity for someone to bring a stack of NES games to get signed by Mike Tyson and shipped off to WATA. So I've been talking to them about getting being like one of the members who can authorize these sales. So hopefully we can get that worked out in the near future. But right now it's only open to people who have, like, it's basically open to video game shop owners who want to get in on this. So it's not like specifically for people in the autograph market right now. So might have to wait till they open it up a little bit more broadly, but hopefully in the future I'll be able to get some of these signings going and send it off to WATA, because I think video games is just like an incredibly huge market. It's some of these big blockbuster games rival Hollywood movies. It's just an incredible market that's growing, and people want to get autographs from these video game personalities, which is why we see so many voice actors here at Galaxycon, because there's just a huge demand for them. And also it's like some of the last affordable things, like voice actors, they're not as cheap as they used to be. They're probably still paying like $40 at minimum.
Yeah, I remember the $40 days.
Probably
now
close to
they're like
$60 now
60
for
to
each
80.
autograph for a voice actor.
Yeah.
But I mean, compared to like a lot of these celebrities who are charging $100, $200, $300 for an autograph, relatively speaking, it's affordable. So there's at least kind of a lower barrier at entry there. So people who might not have the $300 to spend on Elizabeth Olsen might want to get Charles on Super Mario video game or something like that.
Right.
So so there's that. I think that's kind of a new avenue for people to collect, and I think it's going to also bring in like the video game collectors into the autograph space, and kind of vice versa. There's going to be some good cross pollination there. So it's always good to have that kind of influence going on there. And speaking of influence, I did want to kind of address another trend, which is influencer autographs and like signed influencer trading cards. Now, are you up to date on? You're familiar with the brand Leaf and their trading cards, Nick?
Right.
So they do, like, they're pretty well known for their like Pop Century card set, which has a bunch of like celebrity autographs and trading cards featuring celebrities. In the last, like probably just the last year, they've also kind of expanded into the influencer market. So they've been doing cards that are specifically for influencers. Like one of the big ones that they first came out with was Olivia Doon. So Olivia Doon she's an LSU gymnast. I think she was an Olympian, but she's got a huge like social media following as well. And basically they had her featured on a card. They did just the regular cards, and then they also did some limited run of some autograph cards, which were basically print to order. So those were like, I think like $100 each autograph card for like this Olivia Doon influencer autograph card, and they were all branded influencer. So you got Leaf doing this, and then you have Topps doing it as well. Topps is like a huge player in signed trading cards, and they're doing. I've seen like they have one for like Kendall Toole, who's a Peloton influencer, and they have like a bunch also for like in one of their baseball sets, they have like cards dedicated to specific YouTubers who are like baseball influencers. So they'll have those influencer trading cards. So I've been seeing a lot more like specifically influencer branded stuff going on. I was wondering, do you have an opinion on influencers? Do you have a specific influencer you'd want an autograph from, or like is this something you collect or you can see the appeal of?
I think I get it. I could definitely see it, geared towards like the younger generation, especially because, pretty much I would consider like YouTube a new platform of television for the younger generation. So to me, I think it's a good opportunity for them to feel engaged with those type of influences. So like myself, I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like with Markiplier, for instance, one of those older generations of YouTubers who started, video games and stuff like that. And of course, you'll have all the Olympians and such in between. So I think it's a good opportunity for them to be able to engage with their fans and get, I guess, their own type of, autograph fandom club going on. Perhaps it'll be its own type of trade, like how we see in mainstream autographs today. So, I see it as a good opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely like look at my kids, and most of the time they'd rather watch a YouTube video than like go onto Disney Plus or something like that. So, I mean, I think with these, especially with people who have grown up with YouTube side by side with any of these other cable TV or now more recently streaming services, like they're all kind of on the same platform, just one button click away from one another. So they're all kind of seen, I think, on equal footing. So perhaps it's not such a surprise that we would see somebody like an influencer like Libby Dune be granted her own autograph card, while Topps is also producing autograph cards for voice actors and actors. So I could see them all being seen in the same light, especially by a younger generation. Whereas like why I would basically, with probably few exceptions, like almost exclusively just do actors. Someone who's younger, I could see equally wanting an influencer, if not, possibly even more so, because the reason why these influencers are so popular and engaging is because they're out there making content every day. It's more personalized, so they probably have a more personal connection with them. And having an autograph from somebody, for me, is kind of like a link between me and that celebrity. So I think the autograph with an influencer would even further that personal connection. So I think I think we're just going to see it explode in the next coming years. We're just kind of seeing the infancy of it. And I think there's a lot of older guard who I've seen a lot of like angry comments about these things, but I think they're just going to have to get used to it, because this is going to be the new norm for sure.
And what a better way to leave your legacy, than be able to put that many personal connections, those autographs to those fans that will, potentially hand it down to their kids and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So what new do you have got going on? Can you tell us about, like, so for example, the Michael Keaton signing that's coming up? I know you're getting prepped for that with some props and stuff. So can you tell us about what you're doing in order to get ready for Michael Keaton?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Michael Keaton. We share the same birthday day, which is kind of cool, and I cosplay as Batman as well. And so for the signing, because it has been some time since he was last seen at like a public convention, Alamo City Comic-Con. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a movie poster signed by him. I think it's going to be awesome to add that onto the wall. And then, of course, the props. We have a Batman emblem that goes really nicely on a Michael Keaton cowl, the Batman cowl. So they really display nice together. And so I'll have a version of that signed available. And a few extra masks too for costumes, especially now like the Flash. You kind of got to see those different type of outfits that Michael Keaton sported. So it's a good opportunity to really expand into like the prop universe now that we have some extended universe information.
Are you making any of these props yourself, or are you buying these already on the market?
These ones are going to be essentially traded with a tradesman in Canada. So definitely looking forward to that getting signed. He did the last ones that we did with Michael Keaton, and so the work is flawless.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because you've already seen him when he came to San Antonio, but that one of like a lot of his signings, I guess, have been pretty short-lived. Like he was there for only a limited amount of time. People who ordered an autograph, a lot of the orders got canceled because he just didn't have enough time to sign them all. And this one with the Celebrity Authentics, who was kind of running the signing, this was going to be a send-in only, so he's not like appearing at a con or anything this time. But Celebrity Authentics is doing it, and they had $500 for his autograph send-in, or $600 if you're doing something like a poster. However, through Celebrity Authentics, it is already sold out. However, if you go to CGC, they did partner with Celebrity Authentics, and I believe if you send something into CGC, you can actually still get him to sign a comic or something like that. So there is still an opportunity for Batman fans to get something signed. I did see on I'm in a Nintendo Power Collectors group, which is like the old Nintendo magazine. There was one with Michael Keaton on the cover for the Batman game for the Game Boy, and they were thinking about sending that Nintendo Power in to get signed by him through CGC. So that's something that you can do. Also, they are doing one with Michelle Pfeiffer, and I did see, I don't think, at least through CGC, they said you can't get them both on the same comic. They're not doing multiple send-ins. I don't know if you can do it through Celebrity Authentics. You might, but her autograph price was $400.
In regards to the Michael Keaton signing, something that I found interesting in regards to how they advertised it between the different companies that are joining in is how they are implying that his autograph price, if there is future signings, will be more than it is now, like almost as a guarantee, it sounds like. What
Yeah,
was your take on that?
they did mention that Harrison Ford specifically, and how his autograph was, $1,500 many years ago, and now is 1,200 plus. So they kind of made an analogy between him and Keaton, and basically said, get this price now because next time you're going to be paying out the nose for it. So, we'll see. I don't know. I don't think Michael Keaton has the demand as Indiana Jones / Han Solo, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So I think they're stretching a little bit, but as the trend is, as time goes on, prices do increase. So I think that it is a safe bet to say that next time they have a signing, it's going to be more than it is this time. That's probably almost a guarantee. And you can probably say that for just about any actor. So I don't think that's an exaggeration. But to compare Keaton and Harrison Ford, I think that might be a step too far.
I could agree with that.
Yeah. All right. So I think that about wraps up the topics that we had for today. So basically, I would say stay tuned next weekend, starting September 1st. I'll be there at Galaxycon, and Nick will be there possibly Saturday and Sunday. So hopefully I will see you there. And where can we find you, Nick?
You can check me out on TikTok, Etsy, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, Sir Nick Justice.
All right, so we can find Nick at Sir Nick Justice on those platforms. You can find me at Tales from the Collection on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all the good places, Instagram. So watch out for some content from us, and we'll be taking you kind of behind the scenes on what's going on at Galaxycon and lots of future events. So thanks for joining me, Nick, and thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks for watching another episode of Autograph Weekly. Please like and subscribe, and join us next week as we cover what's new in the autograph collecting hobby.